I myself use the word Indigenous, but I know that that's controversial in a lot of places, but I'd say it's absolutely okay to ask someone, are you a First Nations person, or even, where do you come from?
Asking them if they're Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander is important for you to understand and make sure that they have the best outcomes.
It's just like any other question. I guess you could frame it in the same way as, you know, what they bring with them in their own story. It's part of a big part of their identity and who they are. The best teacher's going to be country, so spending time out on country and being in that space, I think, is really important for all educators, and that's what we really focus on in Indigenous ways of knowing.
Another answer to that would be Google. If I don't know the name of a country that I'm visiting, then I'll just Google it.
In order to organise someone to come and speak at your workplace, you've got to form a relationship with them first. I can think of nothing more kind of disrespectful than someone just calling up a black fella out of the blue and saying, hey, nice to meet you anyway, come and teach us about stuff.
In terms of, like, if you're wanting to get an elder to come in, you need to be really wary of how time poor our elders are and how much they get asked, and be patient with that.
And don't expect that it's free.
Yes.
Yeah.
Makes us feel really strong when people acknowledge the country that they're on, but some of you might find yourselves working in a place that is contested. You know, people don't know whose country it is, or people argue over whose country it is. Understand what country you're working on, and if it's inappropriate, err on the side of caution and don't put something down there.
There is the possibility of overdoing it for acknowledging country, and I think emails, for me, I don't do it.
I have it in my emails. Same with my pronouns and everything. I have it at the bottom of my email as just this is part of who I am. When I'm sending you an email, this is a really important thing to me, that we acknowledge that.
It would be appropriate to also ask that person, that patient, is there something in particular that they would like in the way of support as well, to make them feel more comfortable and better supported. There's two parts to this. So the first part is if Aboriginal students, no, absolutely not. That's the privacy, confidential thing between students and things like that. If it's a patient, absolutely. So as I said, knowing a student's background, or where they come from, that helps to be able to put in place cultural support for them, and any supports that they might need. So absolutely yes to patients, not so much for students.
Obviously that's not okay.
Yeah, that's not okay.
My mum's a midwife, so I have some idea of the health areas. She has pointed out to me that it's always important to ask people if they are Aboriginal. Even if you don't think they are, for whatever reason, it's really important that you continue to do that. Because we come in all sorts of different shades, except A.
Don't assume that there's a certain way to support somebody who's had grief or loss, or that there's a standard way of doing it. There's not. Everybody's different.
Yeah, it depends on where they're from. I know that some cultures, don't speak the name of the person for years, or don't use the image of the person, or it depends on protocol.
It's just about having empathy and having a conversation, and yeah, you don't change the way you are as a human, you just have that extra part of the story in the back of your head.
If you want to know more about people's heritage, and I'd say this is more than just a black-white thing, Aboriginal, non-Aboriginal thing, start talking to them, have conversations.
In my experiences, it's when I've been approached and things, it's always been tokenistic to some extent.
Yeah, if it's in a conversation where everyone's talking about their culture and their heritage and their story, that's great. Like, that's a great conversation to have about, you know, getting to know your colleagues, but it is often just the black fella that gets asked.
You know, if it's just about cultural awareness, it's just saying, oh, I'm aware of that, now I can move on and do my own thing. That we have to move towards sort of cultural proficiency or cultural sensitivity.
Being culturally aware is about listening, really.
And being open to listening.
Yeah.
Instead of thinking that you have all the right answers, be open to listen to people who would actually have the right answers.
My experience as an Aboriginal man is that it can't be one of recrimination and blame, even in really, really toxic places. You have to understand people's stories and why they're doing the things they're doing. And then you can work to sort of undo that a little bit. But my advice is if you're in a place that's really toxic and you can't stand, get out.
You can lead by example if you want to, you know, put acknowledgements of country in your email. That serves as a good reminder that everyone should be acknowledging country.
I am okay with First Nations, with Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, and that comes down to preferences of individuals on how they prefer to be referred to as well.
It's okay to ask this. The correct terminology changes as time moves. It used to be okay to call us Aborigines, and now I hate being called that. And nowadays we're leaning more towards First Nations.
I think if you know their country and you've heard them introduce themselves as Palawa person, then that's the most appropriate. Like, that's them identifying what they want to be called.
Put simply, welcome to country can only be done by someone from that place who has heritage and history in that place and is one of the traditional custodians. Acknowledgements can and should be done by anyone, critically, not just blackfellas. I know about sister, but often we find ourselves in circles where who wants to do the acknowledgement of country, and every face turns to the black person in the room. Yeah. It's no good. Yeah, it should be done by everyone because you should all be grateful to be on this country. The only thing that I'd say is if you're getting in your head too much, and being in your head too much is divorcing you from doing the things that you know you should do. Well, I did the wrong thing there, and I did the wrong thing here, and if I don't know, oh, this is all too hard, then you're letting your head get in the way, you know?
Yeah.
And in teaching, oh my God, all the time, people just don't do anything because they are terrified of doing the wrong thing.
There's a fine line of recognising your own comfort in speaking about these issues, but also recognising that you're not an authority on it.